Your life doesn't change with steps. It changes with a leap, an invisible leap, an internal leap that suddenly reorders everything that seemed impossible. They trained us to believe that transformation is slow, that you have to climb step by step, scaling with effort towards some distant future. But that is the great lie. Life doesn't transform with stairs. Life transforms with portals, with leaps that occur in an instant. And the curious thing is that you've already lived it. The first time you suddenly understood a truth you couldn't explain, the day a decision changed years of waiting, the moment when someone who seemed chained to their destiny took a radical turn in a matter of seconds. That is a leap. It's not accumulation, it's collapse, it's not infinite preparation, it's sudden detonation. The ancients called it revelation. Scientists call it breaking point. Quantum physics names it electron jump, and in human life, we feel it as that instant when everything changes without warning, but with perfect precision. This book is a guide to understand, provoke, and sustain those leaps, because you don't need more time, you need a leap, and the leap is now. You're going to discover the secrets of the invisible breaking point, the paradoxes that announce a leap, the lightning of inspiration, and the portal of radical imagination. Prepare yourself, because this journey won't teach you to walk faster, but to jump dimensions. And when you finish, you won't look at your life again as a path of stairs, but as a series of portals ready to open. Chapter 1. The Great Lie of Linear Progress. They made us believe that life is a staircase, that all progress is slow, measured, progressive, that if you work hard enough, one day, after years of effort, you'll reach the top. That is the narrative the system repeats in school, in religion, in the economy. Always steps, never leaps, always infinite patience, never sudden transformation. But the truth is different. Life doesn't move in a straight line. Life moves in leaps, in breaks, in explosions of consciousness that suddenly change everything. Science confirms it. Electrons don't climb from one energy level to another. Little by little they leap. They disappear from one state and appear in another without passing through the middle. That is a quantum leap, an instantaneous change of state, and what occurs in physics also occurs in the mind, also occurs in your life. Think about water at 95 degrees. It's still water. At 96 too. At 99 too. But at 100 degrees something radical happens. In an instant, it's no longer water, it's steam. It wasn't gradual, it wasn't a leap, a change of state that completely transformed its nature. This is also how human lives work. You can spend years trying to improve little by little, reading more, working more, accumulating strategies, and still feel that nothing changes. But one instant is enough, one decision, one break for everything that seemed impossible to become inevitable. History is full of examples. Newton didn't become Newton because he studied every day, but because in an instant, seeing an apple fall, his mind made a quantum leap. He went from confusion to discovering a law that changed the world. Or think of Rosa Parks, that woman who one day refused to give up her seat on a bus. It wasn't a small step. It was a historic leap, an instant that ignited a spark that transformed the consciousness of an entire nation. Linear progress promises you security, but it also locks you in eternal waiting. The law of the Great Leap, on the other hand, reminds you that your life can change in a second, that everything you hope to achieve in 10 years can happen in a single instant of clarity, decision, or revelation. The question is, are you willing to leap? Because a leap isn't comfortable. A leap breaks the rules of the expected. A leap doesn't ask permission, and that's why it transforms more than 1,000 small attempts. Today I want you to engrave this in your mind. Your life doesn't depend on accumulated steps. It depends on leaps, and each leap is just one instant away. And in the next chapter, you'll discover the springboard that makes that leap possible, because it's not money, nor opportunities, nor even external conditions. It's something much more intimate and more powerful, your identity. What you repeat when you say, I am, that is the spring that propels you or the chain that binds you. Chapter 2. Identity is the springboard. If you want to understand why your life repeats, why, even though you make an effort, it seems you hit the same invisible ceiling. You have to look beyond your actions and desires and enter the true spring that propels your leaps, your identity. Your identity is not your name, nor your biography, nor what you did yesterday. Your identity is what you hold in silence every time you say, I am. I am bad with money. I am one of those who don't fit in. I am weak for changes. These phrases are invisible labels that don't describe, they program. The error of linear progress is focusing only on doing more, reading more, working more, trying harder. But the law of the Great Leap teaches that nothing changes until the I am changes. Because you can work 12 hours a day and still live as a slave to your old identity. Look at Elon Musk. Before having factories, rockets, and electric cars, he already declared himself as someone who would change the way humanity moves and inhabits the world. He didn't yet have the technology or resources, but his identity was decided, and that identity was the springboard that launched him to projects that seemed impossible. Or think of a more everyday example, someone who always introduces themselves as, I'm unpunctual. That person can buy 10 agendas, read 1,000 productivity books, install 20 applications, but as long as their identity continues being the one who arrives late, they'll keep sabotaging every attempt, because action never surpasses the I am. The Bible narrates it in a profound metaphor. Jacob wrestling all night with an angel, and at dawn receives a new name, Israel. That change of identity was the springboard that transformed not just a man, but an entire people. He didn't change because he walked faster or because he worked harder. He changed because his I am was elevated to another level. Here is the teaching. Your leap doesn't depend on what you do, it depends on the identity you hold. And your identity doesn't wait for proof, it waits for decision. Don't say, when I achieve this, I will be. Say, I am this, and that's why I achieve it. Stop repeating, I am the one who tries, and start inhabiting, I am the one who achieves. Leave behind, I am the one who waits, and become, I am the one who already is. Because the law of the Great Leap isn't activated by accumulating actions, it's activated by transforming identities. And your I am is the springboard that defines how far you can fly. In the next chapter, you'll enter a strange and powerful terrain, the void between two worlds, that space where you're no longer the old, but you're not yet the new. An uncomfortable place, but fertile. The secret hallway through which every true leap must pass. Chapter 3. The void between two worlds. Every leap has an uncomfortable instant, a strange space where the old no longer sustains you, but the new hasn't yet appeared. That space is the void between two worlds. The mistake of most is to flee from that void because it feels like chaos, uncertainty, darkness. They want immediate results, quick proofs, visible guarantees. But the law of the Great Leap teaches that this void isn't failure. It's the secret hallway that connects dimensions. Think about the caterpillar. When it enters the cocoon, it doesn't immediately become a butterfly. The first thing that happens is it dissolves. Its body disassembles, liquefies, undoes everything it was. For days it seems dead, without form, without identity. But that biological chaos isn't the end. It's the secret laboratory where the new is gestating. The same happens with your mind and your life. When you dare to make a leap, there will be a period when nothing fits. Maybe you'll lose relationships that no longer vibrate with you. Maybe your work will stop making sense. Maybe your routine breaks. That is the void between two worlds. And although it seems like loss, in reality it's construction. The ancient mystics called it the dark night of the soul. Physics describes it as the space between quantum states, and modern psychology speaks of liminal transition. 3 different languages to name the same thing. The fertile ground, where the old dies so the new can be born. I remember a woman I met at a retreat. She had left a 20-year job that suffocated her, but she still didn't know what she wanted to do. She cried every day. She said, "I feel in the air as if I had no ground." I responded, "What you call void is actually your cocoon. Trust, because you're in the laboratory of the invisible." 3 months later, she wrote me, "I discovered what I want to do and I've already opened my project." The void hadn't destroyed her, it had gestated her. Here is the teaching. When you feel everything falling apart, don't rush to rebuild with the old. Let the void do its work. Because the leap doesn't occur in comfort, it occurs at the threshold. Breathe in the midst of chaos. Release the hurry to arrive. Hold your trust in the silence, because the void between two worlds isn't a punishment. It's the womb where your next level is being gestated. In the next chapter, you'll discover the secret engine that makes possible that this void doesn't devour you, but propels you. The force that is never seen, but always sustains. The invisible energy of vibrational faith. Chapter 4. The invisible energy of vibrational faith. If there's a force that sustains every leap, it's not logic, it's not proofs, it's faith, but not faith understood as religious dogma or passive hope, but as living vibration, as invisible energy that sustains what still can't be seen. Vibrational faith is that internal state where your body, your mind, and your energy field already act as if the new were here, even though your eyes can't yet confirm it. It's more than believing. It's inhabiting. Think of a suspension bridge in the middle of an abyss. When you take the first step, you don't see if it will hold. But your faith isn't in the wood, it's in the energy that moves you to cross it. That's how a leap works. Your vibration becomes the invisible bridge that sustains you until the new appears. Albert Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge, because imagination connects with what doesn't yet exist. What do you think imagining with emotion is? It's activating vibrational faith. It's giving body today to what tomorrow will be matter. In the Bible, Jesus spoke of this force in simple parables. If you had faith like a mustard seed, you would move mountains. He wasn't speaking of external magic. He was speaking of the internal coherence that converts the invisible into visible. Modern science, from quantum physics to epigenetics, confirms the same thing. Sustained perception alters matter. Belief modifies biology. I remember a young man I met at a seminar. He had spent years trying to publish his music, but each rejection sank him deeper until he understood that he couldn't keep vibrating as someone who begged for opportunities. He began to record in his room, but he did it as if he were already in a professional studio. He dressed like an artist, spoke like an artist, felt each note as if thousands were already listening. The result, one day, a producer stumbled upon his songs on the internet and opened the door that seemed impossible. It wasn't coincidence, it was vibrational. His field was already sustaining the reality before it occurred. Here's the key. Vibrational faith isn't waiting, it's embodying. You don't say, someday I'll have. You say, I'm already vibrating in it, even though I don't see it yet. Try it. Think of a deep desire. Now, instead of begging for it, ask yourself, how would I move if it were already real? How would I breathe? How would I speak? How would I walk? Then start inhabiting that version of you. At first it seems like a game, but little by little your energy begins to mold matter. The leap isn't sustained by your logic, it's sustained by your vibrational faith. And that faith isn't asked for, it's practiced day after day, emotion after emotion, action after action, until the invisible becomes inevitable. In the next chapter, you're going to discover one of the most radical secrets of the law of the Great Leap. It's not just about advancing, also about dying. Because you can't enter a new life carrying the masks of the previous one, the hidden force of symbolic death. Every great leap demands a death, not of the body, but of the old identity. That version of you that learned to survive with fear, with doubts, with excuses, can't enter with you to the new life, because the door of the leap is too narrow, and only those who dare to release what no longer vibrates can cross it. Ancestral cultures knew it. That's why they invented initiation rituals. The young person had to die symbolically to be reborn as an adult. The warrior had to leave behind his fearful self to become protector. The shaman had to go through tests of solitude and darkness, so his old perception would die and another deeper one would be born. Today, we no longer do ceremonies in caves or mountains, but life gives us its own rituals. When a relationship ends, when a job is over, when a plan fails, each loss is a reminder that nothing you want to preserve by force can accompany you to the next level. Modern psychology explains it too. Carl Jung said, There is no transformation without death. And he wasn't talking about a coffin, but about those times when you stop identifying with your character. You stop being the one who always fails, the one everyone rejects, the one who never has luck. That identity must die so another can be born. Think of the butterfly. The caterpillar doesn't transform because it learns to fly. It transforms because it accepts to die in a cocoon. It surrenders to darkness, dissolves, and from that symbolic death emerges a new creature. The leap works the same way. Your old self must die in you. I knew a woman who had built her entire identity around being the sacrificial one, the one who always gave, always carried, always endured. And although her desire for abundance was sincere, life didn't open the door for her. Why? Because she kept vibrating as someone who didn't deserve to receive. The day she accepted with tears that this version had to die, that she couldn't keep being the martyr if she wanted to be abundant, that day her rebirth began, and what seemed impossible in months opened up. Symbolic death isn't tragedy. It's alchemy. It's when you decide that your past story no longer defines your future story. When you bury the old identity and you rise with another vibration, do it yourself too. Write on a paper who you've been until now, the beliefs that have most limited you, the names you've repeated to yourself in silence, and then burn it, bury it, or tear it up. Not as a simple gesture, but as a conscious funeral. You're saying goodbye to a character, and in doing so, you give the true you permission to emerge. Remember, nothing new can enter a full container, and sometimes the container is you. That's why life insists that you die symbolically again and again, because each leap demands a new skin. In the next chapter, you'll see that the leap doesn't only depend on what dies in you, but on what you're born to sustain. Because the true power isn't in releasing, it's in opening yourself to energies that previously scared you. Chapter 6. The magnetism of vulnerability. The world taught us that being strong is not showing cracks, that being powerful is appearing to have absolute control, that vulnerability is weakness. But the leap isn't activated with masks, it's activated with naked truth. Vulnerability is a magnet because it's the state in which you stop defending yourself from life and allow life to enter you. It's like opening windows after years of confinement. Fresh air doesn't enter because you control it, it enters because you stop resisting. In physics, a metal only becomes magnetic when its particles align. The same happens with human energy. When you stop fragmenting yourself in masks, excuses, and characters, and you dare to show yourself as you are, your field aligns, and that coherence is magnetic. Think of an artist on a stage. The audience doesn't connect with perfection, it connects with the instant when it breaks, when it lets its fear, its passion, its wound show, because there's truth there, and truth is pure vibration. Brené Brown, researcher who dedicated her life to studying vulnerability, said it clearly. What we most fear to show is what most connects with others, and that's also real in the leap. Vulnerability doesn't only attract people, it attracts opportunities, because the energy of openness is the strongest signal you can emit. I knew a man who tried for years to start a business, but he always did it from the facade of, I can do it alone, I don't need anyone. And the only thing he attracted were solitary failures. Until, tired, he dared to ask for help, to admit he was afraid, that he didn't know everything, that he needed allies. In less than 6 months, he surrounded himself with people who supported him and took him further than he ever achieved alone. The leap occurred not because he pretended to be strong, but because he allowed himself to be vulnerable. Vulnerability isn't exposing your wound to anyone. It's consciously choosing to open your heart in the right place. It's saying, here I am, not perfect, but real. And that energy creates trust in others, but above all, creates trust in the universe. Do a simple exercise. Think of something you've been hiding for years, a part of you that you hide for fear of being judged. Now, imagine what would happen if instead of burying it, you showed it with honesty, not as drama, but as an act of truth. What you're going to discover is that what you hide keeps you prisoner, but what you share transforms into strength. The leap doesn't happen when you pretend to be invincible. It happens when you accept being human, because the human vibrates higher than any mask. In the next chapter, you'll discover that vulnerability opens the heart, but true expansion occurs when you learn to play with the impossible, when what seemed fantasy becomes real field. Chapter 7. The Science of the Impossible. The impossible was always the frontier that separated dreamers from those who obey, a line marked in red that said, "Don't cross." But the impossible was never real. It was a mental agreement sustained by collective fear. The Matrix repeats, "That can't be done," but every human advance is proof of the opposite. Just a few years ago, science managed to capture for the first time the image of a black hole. For decades it was said to be impossible because a black hole literally swallows light. It doesn't emit anything that can be photographed. And yet, a team of more than 200 scientists around the world, uniting telescopes as if they were a single planetary eye, achieved it. They captured the invisible, showed what shouldn't be able to be seen. The impossible broke before everyone. That discovery wasn't magic, it was sustained vision. It was proof that the impossible wasn't in the cosmos, it was in the mind of those who believed it couldn't be done. Quantum physics confirms it. All possibilities exist, but only the one your consciousness sustains manifests. It's as if the universe waited for your permission, and when you give it, the impossible becomes inevitable. The mystics always said it with other words. Jesus, all things are possible to him who believes. Buddha, with your thoughts, you create the world. Both pointed to the same key. Reality isn't written, it's vibrating, and your mind is the brush that decides what painting takes form. Tesla saw it before it existed. Einstein imagined it beyond the equations, and today, neuroscience shows that the brain doesn't distinguish between what's lived and what's intensely imagined. It activates the same networks, creates the same memories. The impossible opens when your body begins to feel as real what hasn't yet happened. Do an exercise. Choose a dream that your mind still labels as impossible. Now, don't think it, feel it. Breathe as if you were already inside it. Look through those future eyes. Inhabit that reality for a few seconds. What you did in this instant isn't fantasy. It's quantum training. It's moving your consciousness to the point where the impossible ceases to exist. Because the impossible doesn't break with effort. It breaks with vision, with vibration, and with the audacity to inhabit what others don't dare to look at. In the next chapter, you'll discover that imagining the impossible is the beginning, but sustaining it demands living every second with extreme presence, because an instant of total attention can open more doors than 1,000 days of effort. Chapter 8. The Power of Extreme Presence. Most people live with their minds split into 1,000 fragments, one part trapped in what already happened, another worried about what will come, and only a small residue in the present. That dispersed state is the norm, but it's also the reason why people feel their life never takes off. True power isn't in thinking faster or planning in more detail, but in living with extreme presence. Because an instant of total attention can open more doors than years of automatic effort. Neuroscience has demonstrated it. When your attention concentrates completely on a single point, the brain enters gamma state, brainwaves that synchronize hemispheres and create leaps of creativity and understanding impossible in distraction. It's the flow state that Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi described. That place where you lose track of time because you're completely inside the experience. The mystics knew it long before. Zen monks called this satori, seeing reality as it is, without the distortion of repeated thoughts. And yogis described it as samadhi, a state of union with what you're living without separation. Think of a surgeon in the middle of a critical operation, a pianist playing from memory before thousands of people, a climber holding his life at his fingertips. In those moments, there's no past or future, only an absolute present exists, and that present releases a hidden power that in daily life we almost never use. Do a simple experiment right now. Choose a nearby object. Observe it as if you were seeing it for the first time. Forget its name, its utility, its history. Just look at it. Feel its colors, its textures, its form, and realize that for a few seconds, your mind stopped traveling to the past or future. You entered extreme presence. That state is a portal, because when you concentrate all your attention on the now, your energy stops being dispersed and becomes like a laser. And what that laser touches begins to transform. Eckhart Tolle expressed it this way: wherever you are, be completely there, because presence isn't passivity, it's concentrated power. And it's from that power where the impossible begins to become real. The leap doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to be awake, present, ignited. In the next chapter, you'll discover that awakening isn't about accumulating new techniques or identities, but about releasing layers, removing what's left over so your mind becomes a temple again and not a prison. Chapter 9. Mental Rebirth. Awakening. The mind isn't adding more information. It's not filling your head with new techniques. It's the opposite, removing the layers that for years were covering it until the original spark shines again. Your mind wasn't born as a prison. It was born as a temple, but along the way, you accumulated walls. The voice of those who told you, you can't. The wounds that engraved, you don't deserve. The doubts that sowed, you're not enough. And one day, you stopped using your mind as an instrument and began to live inside its bars. Mental rebirth occurs when you stop identifying with those layers and remember that behind all of them, there's something intact, a pure consciousness that never went out. Neuroscience confirms it. Your brain has infinite plasticity. It doesn't matter how many years you spent repeating patterns, it can always reorganize itself, create new connections, open new possibilities. Each conscious thought you choose is a new brick in the construction of your reality. But here's the most important thing. True awakening isn't measured in how much you know, it's measured in how you live. An awakened mind doesn't run after every fear. It observes it and decides whether to give it power or not. An awakened mind doesn't get lost in the noise of thousands of thoughts. It creates silence, and from there, chooses. An awakened mind doesn't enslave itself with control. It trusts in the energy of surrender, knowing that life responds to vibration more than to effort. Imagine now what a life looks like from that place. You wake up, and you're not dragged by the urgency of the clock, but you consciously choose from where to live the day. In a conversation, you no longer react from the wounded ego, but you listen from clarity. Before a difficulty, you don't fall into desperation, but you remember that your mind is capable of opening new doors. That is the true rebirth, not a forced change, but the return to your natural power. Make a commitment every day for a few seconds. Stop and ask yourself, from what mind am I living this instant? From the dormant mind, full of fear and repetition, or from the awakened mind capable of choosing, of creating, of expanding? That question asked with honesty can be the beginning of your rebirth, because the hidden power of your mind wasn't lost, it was only asleep. And now that you've awakened it, you can no longer go back. This is your leap, your rebirth, your mind finally free. You've reached the end of this journey, but in reality it's the beginning of another much bigger one, because an awakened mind can no longer settle for surviving. Now it wants to live in expansion. If this book ignited something inside you, I invite you to keep exploring. On this channel, you'll find other audiobooks like The 7 Hidden Codes of Hermes or The Path of the Sorcerer, each one a different door toward your true power. Subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new content, and share in the comments what awakened in you. Join us on the next journey, because the best is just beginning. Your transformation starts now, and we're here to accompany you on every leap. Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. See you in the next audiobook.